The unhappy crow that compared to everyone else. There was once a crow who lived in the forest and was absolutely satisfied with its life. The crow never compared to any other animal. But one day he saw a swan. This swan is so white, he thought, and I am so black. This swan must be the happiest bird in the world. The crow told the swan how he felt. Actually, the swan replied, I was feeling that I was the happiest and most beautiful bird around until I saw a parrot, which has two colors. Now I think the parrot is the happiest and luckiest bird in the world. After hearing that, the crow decided to search for the parrot. When he found the parrot, he told what has happened to him so far and what he was thinking. To the crow's surprise, the parrot replied, I lived a very happy life until I saw a peacock. I have only two colors, but the peacock has many colors. The crow decided to see that for himself, so he visited the peacock in the zoo. Once there, he saw that hundreds of people had gathered to see the peacock. After the people had left, the crow approached the peacock. Dear peacock, the crow said, you are so beautiful. Every day thousands of people come to see you and your beautiful feathers. Compared to you, I am not so lucky, and I could never be so happy as you are. Unlike you, when people see me, they immediately shoo me away and even throw rocks at me. I think you are the happiest bird on the planet. The peacock replied with sadness in his eyes, I always thought that I was the most beautiful and happy bird on the planet. But because of my beauty, I am entrapped in this zoo. From what I have seen and experienced in my life, I have realized that you are the luckiest bird in the world. Compared to you, I am imprisoned and told where I can go, and when I have to do something. You are one of the few birds that are not kept in a cage and are free to spread your wings and fly anywhere you wish to. Moral of the story: do not compare yourself with others based on what you see on the outside. You never know what they had to sacrifice to live the life they live now. The only one you should compare to is the person you were yesterday. The lion who became a sheep. A lioness, huge with an unborn baby lion in her body, was growing weak from lack of food. As the baby lion grew heavier within her, she could not move quickly enough to catch any prey. Roaring with sadness and hunger, and heavy with the baby lion, the lioness fell asleep at the edge of the forest near a pasture. As she dozed, she dreamed of seeing a flock of sheep grazing. When, in her dream, she pounced on one of the sheep, she jerked herself awake. With surprise and great joy, she discovered that her dream was true. A large flock of sheep grazed in the pasture right near her. Forgetting the heavy baby lion in her body, and impelled by the madness of hunger, the lioness pounced on one of the young lambs and took it into the depths of the forest. The lioness did not realize that during the exertion of her mad leap at the lamb, she had given birth to the baby lion. The flock of sheep were so paralyzed with fear by the attack of the lioness that they couldn't run away. When the lioness had departed and the panic was over, the sheep woke from their stupor. They began to bleat out lamentations for their lost comrade, when, to their great astonishment, they discovered the helpless baby lion crooning in their midst. One of the mother sheep took pity on the baby lion and adopted it as her own. The young lion grew up amidst the flock of sheep. Several years passed, and there, with the flock of sheep, roamed a huge lion with long mane and tail, behaving exactly like a sheep. The sheep lion bleated instead of roaring and ate grass instead of meat. This vegetarian lion acted exactly like a weak, meek lamb. One day another lion strolled out of the nearby forest onto the green pasture, and to his great delight beheld this flock of sheep. Thrilled with joy and whipped by hunger, the great lion pursued the fleeing flock of sheep. When, with amazement, he saw a huge lion, with tail high up in the air, fleeing at top speed ahead of the sheep. The older lion paused for a moment, scratched his head, and pondered within himself. I can't understand the sheep flying away from me, but I cannot imagine why this stalwart lion should run at the sight of me. This runaway lion interests me. Ignoring his hunger, he raced hard and pounced upon the escaping lion. The sheep lion fainted with fear. The big lion was puzzled more than ever, and slapped the sheep lion out of his swoon. In a deep voice he rebuked, "What's the matter with you? Why do you, my brother, flee from me?" The sheep lion closed his eyes and bleated out in sheep language, "Please let me go. Don't kill me. I'm just a sheep brought up with yonder flock." "Oh, now I see why you're bleeding." The big lion pondered again, and a great idea flashed upon him. He caught the sheep lion by the mane with his mighty jaws, and dragged him toward a lake at the end of the pasture. When the big lion reached the shore of the lake, he pushed the sheep lion's head so that it was reflected in the water. He began to shake the sheep lion, who still had his eyes tightly closed, saying, "Open your eyes. Look, you are not a sheep. Bleat, 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 please don't kill me. Let me go. I am not a lion, but only a poor, meek sheep," wailed the sheep lion. The big lion gave the sheep lion a terrible shake. The sheep lion opened his eyes, and was astonished to find that the reflection of his head was not, as he expected, a sheep's head but a lion's head, like that of the lion who was shaking him with his paw. Then the big lion said, "Look at my face, and your face reflected in the water. They are the same. My face roars. Now, you must roar instead of bleating." The sheep lion, convinced, tried to roar, but could only produce bleat-mingled roars. As the older lion continued to exhort him with slapping paws, the sheep lion, at last succeeded in roaring. Then both lions bounded across the pasture, entered the forest, and returned to the den of lions. The above story aptly illustrates how most of us, though made in the all-powerful image of the divine lion of the universe, have been born and raised in the sheepfold of mortal weakness. We bleat with fear, lack, and death, instead of roaring with immortality and power, and preying on wisdom and unlimited prosperity. These teachings are the new lion that will drag you to the crystal pool of meditation, and give you such a hard shaking that you will open the closed eyes of your wisdom, and behold yourself as the lion of divinity, made in the image of the cosmic lion. Those of you who strive continuously will forget your mortal fears of weakness, failure, and death, and will learn to roar with the power of almighty immortality. Introduction to Potato, Egg, and Coffee Bean Story. The Potato, Egg, and Coffee Bean is a real-life inspirational story for kids and teens. The story is about a daughter who constantly faced challenges and difficulties in life. When she shared her problem with her father explained how to face difficulties in life with a real example of boiling potatoes, eggs, and coffee beans. The story shares a firm moral that we must share with our kids to help them to learn to face challenges and difficulties in life. Short story on Potato, Egg, and Coffee Bean. Once upon a time, a daughter complained to her daughter that her life was sorrowful. She got tired of struggling and fighting in her life all the time. It seems that life is full of problems. As one problem gets solved, another problem soon follows. Listening to this, the father asked her daughter to follow him to the kitchen. In the kitchen, the father filled 3 pots with water and placed the pots one above the other on a high fire. Once the 3 pots started boiling, he placed potatoes, eggs, and ground coffee beans in 3 different pots. The daughter impatiently waited to see what her father was doing. After 20 minutes, all the 3 burners were turned off by her father. The father further took the potatoes out of the pot and placed them in a bowl. He then pulled out the eggs and placed them in a bowl. He further took the coffee out and placed them in a cup. Turning to her, he asked, "Daughter, what do you see? Potatoes, eggs, coffee beans in 3 different bowls?" She hastily replied. The father then asked her to have a sip of coffee. The rich aroma of coffee brought a smile to her face. "What does this mean?" the daughter asked her father. He explained that potatoes, eggs, and coffee beans had faced the same difficulties, the boiling water. However, each one's reaction is different. The potato went in strong but became weak and soft in boiling water. The egg was weak with the thin outer shell protecting its inner part, i.e. liquid part, until it was placed in boiling water. Then the inner part of the egg also became hard. The ground coffee beans were unique. After they are exposed to boiling water, they change their color and create something new. The father further asked his daughter, "Which are you? How do you respond when difficulty knocks on your door? Do you think of yourself as a potato, an egg, or bean?" Moral of the story. The story of potatoes, beans, eggs, and coffee states that there are several things that happen to us and happen around us in life. But what truly matters is how we respond to the situation when something happens to us. Inspiring Story of Akbar and Birbal. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Akbar, there lived a wise and witty advisor named Birbal. Akbar admired Birbal for his intelligence and problem-solving skills. One day Akbar went hunting and had a little accident. He shot an arrow at his own foot and was injured. He asked Birbal what he thought about the accident, to which Birbal replied, "Everything happens for the good." This time Akbar was really upset and ordered for Birbal to be put in a well. Akbar asked Birbal, "Now what do you think?" The Birbal again replied, "Everything happens for the good." So Birbal remained in prison. The next day, with his bandaged finger, Akbar went to the forest for hunting with his soldiers. Unfortunately, he was separated from his soldiers and was trapped by tribals who lives there. That day the tribals had some tradition to sacrifice a human to their god. While they were about to sacrifice Akbar, they saw that he was hurt and was not a perfect specimen for the sacrifice, so they released him. On his return, he got to know that Birbal was right and thanked God for hurting his finger. He directly went to Birbal and asked for an apology, and told him that he was right. He also asked that, how was his imprisonment good for him? Birbal replied that if he was not imprisoned, he would be taken to the forest, and when Akbar was rejected by the tribals, he would have been sacrificed to the tribals' god in place of Akbar. After reading this story, the phrase, "Whatever happens, happens for the best," stuck in my mind for a very long time. When I started analyzing how this phrase suited me, I got to know that it's true. I started believing that everything happens for a reason, and the only thing I should do is to do it to the best I can. It is true that everything in life happens for a reason, because all our past experiences actually happen to bring us to where we are today, and it is always for our good. Our past experiences make us a better person. So whatever difficulties that we face today takes us to the next level. Whenever you couldn't get an opportunity, it means that something more or great opportunity is waiting for you. The only thing you should do is to try till you get that opportunity. So start believing in yourself and do it. Whatever happens, happens for the best. Do your level best.
The Lazy Man and God's Plan. Once upon a time, there was a very lazy man who would always look for an easier way to feed himself. One day, while he was searching for something to eat, he saw the fruit farm. He looked around and didn't see anyone guarding the fruits on the tree, so he quickly decided to steal some fruits. But as soon as he walked into the farm and started to climb the tree, the farmer saw him and started coming at him to catch him. The lazy man saw the farmer coming at him with a stick. He got afraid and ran towards the forest nearby and went inside it to hide. After some time, when he felt he started to move on from the forest, and while passing through he saw the wonderful scene. There was a fox. It had only 2 legs and still was crawling on them happily. The lazy man thought, how can this fox stay alive in such condition? The fox can't run. How he must be able to feed himself or stay alive from the threat of other animals. Suddenly, he saw the lion coming towards the fox with a piece of meat already in his mouth. All the animals ran away, and the lazy man climbed up on the tree to save himself, but the fox stayed there only. He didn't have the ability to run on 2 legs, but what happened next surprised the lazy man. The lion left a piece of meat which was in his mouth for the fox. The lazy man felt happy seeing God's play. He thought the God who is the creator of all always has a plan set to take care of what he created. He felt that God must have something planned for him too. So he left that place and sat somewhere away alone, waiting for someone to feed him too. As time starting to pass, he kept looking at the road, waiting for his food. He waited there for 2 days without any food. Finally, he couldn't bear the hunger and started to leave. He met an old sage, a wise person famed for wisdom, on the way. He told everything happened to the sage. The sage first gave him some food and water. After having it, the lazy man asked the sage, "O wise one, the God had shown his mercy on the crippled fox. But why the God was so cruel to me?" The old sage with a smile said, "True that the Creator has a plan for everyone. You are obviously a part of the God's plan. But son, you took his sign in a wrong way. He didn't want you to be like the fox. He wanted you to be like the lion. Moral: often we misunderstand the signs. God has given everyone a strength and ability to do their part. Always learn to see the things in a positive way and see yourself in a strong position to help the ones who need. Don't go for the easy choice. Make a right choice.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to stay updated and never miss out on new content that will brighten your day.